So today here we have is the Poco M4. This is 5G, it's just called the M4 5G. So I have Power Black with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of ROM, just to let you guys know my specs on this thing. It has a headphone jack, so it doesn't come with an adapter, but it comes with all of your case and your manuals, which I will put back in the box again because who even reads the manuals anyway. And then we have here are some of the specs, which is a Dimensity 700 with 5G 7nm power efficient processor. Basically, this was inside of the Poco M3 Pro 5G, which was 2 years old at this point, and we're still seeing that same exact processor, not even just the 810. Has a 90Hz 1080p dynamic switch display with Gorilla Glass, probably AMOLED or IPS. 5000 mAh type high capacity battery with 18 watt fast charging. Can we at least see 33 watts? But it's okay. I'd be nice to have the 33 watts, but it's okay if we don't. Has 13 megapixel AI dual camera with NFC on this device. Region dependent, of course. We have here a plastic back. That's going to be a fun thing. We have a huge camera bump for 2 cameras, which don't even... This one can be half the size. If we really wanted to do that, we can make this one half the size. And this one also could be half the size. I don't need this huge camera bump. And then it has like a curved, semi-curved back, whatever. Fingerprint power button. Square design like everything else. It has what looks like a light sensor here, but I will test if it has a proximity sensor for real or just a virtual one. We have a mic, a charger, and then the headphone jack, or I mean the speaker, headphone jack, cameras of course, and then if we pop this open, dual SIM and SD card together, which is actually a nice thing to see in these types of phones. So let's turn it on and we'll get through testing this. And of course, in the box we get 18 watt with an 18 watt wire. Now, MIUI 13, huge bezels. Now, it's not like it's the end of the world, but at least they aren't just throwing a 64 megapixel camera in this, or even 48 to give us, oh look, we have a high megapixel camera. They're giving us a 13, which I really hope it's a good camera because it's only 13 megapixels. So we will see if that makes a decent enough camera out of it. But I mean, at least they're not throwing a crap ton of megapixels into a camera just to say, oh look, we have a high megapixel camera, and then it turns out to be just a whatever camera with a high megapixel count. Now, I had to bring out this Poco C40 because I want you to see the bezels on this thing. Now, this C40 doesn't have a side fingerprint reader, but if it powers on, which it's dead, so I guess it just has one of those screens that's just way too big bezel. But when I compare these side by side, this one looks like it's a bit smaller than this one, but it looks to be around the same. And if I throw myself in right here, you'll notice that they're similar. Very much similar here. So that's something. That makes me a bit, maybe they use similar screen, but also up top here, the same way the C40 had it, we've seen, hard to tell, like it should have came with, getting this ready. I just want to do one simple test if this is a real proximity, because if that isn't just a light sensor and that is a proximity sensor on that little thing right here, I need to be able to find a way to show you up close. See right here, there is just like, I can notice it in person, but there is this dip right here in the screen protector, which does show that that is a proximity sensor of some kind. It is running Android 12, which has just been tested, and viewing angles, it's hard to tell, but viewing angles are actually quite good in person. Off-axis viewing is great on this thing right now. Now it's definitely running an IPS display. I'm just going to skip through because I just want to get into this. I'm excited. Okay, so no thanks. Just let me in. I don't know. It looks cool from the back right now. I don't know if I'd call this a phone worth buying right now. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative. It's more of just what better can get for this price. And I don't think it's a Dimensity. Snapdragon has, quote unquote, according to some people, had some chip issues, which may be true. But if we're stuck, I mean, that was fast, but that's also because there's nothing running on this. Okay. It's the Dimensity. It's the older processor, about 2 years old at this point. The original Dimensity chip. They're going really cheap. They could have really put an 800 in here. Device name is Thunder. Screen does 60, 90, and 30. So if we go into the settings, like they said, dynamic switch display, but switching down to 30 doesn't make it a dynamically switching display. Especially if you can't even use it properly because you don't have the proper switching on here. Camera is an OmniVision 2 megapixel, so you have a 13 megapixel and then a 5 megapixel front with a 2 megapixel macro. Claims to have a 5 megapixel. Go to proximity. So you have an actual proximity sensor here from the brand this, whatever that means to you. And it is in the wrong spot. On my C40 I had an issue using it.